Hey, what's up, guys? So this is going to be FAQ number 3. Yep, FAQ number 3. Just going over some more kind of interesting rules and thoughts and such from the questions and the rules overview tab in Discord, and kind of condensing them into a quick video for you guys with a little bit of discussion and analysis on the call. So starting off, if you have a 1 enchanted Celestial and it is attacking something that has 2 spirits enchanted to it, and they trade. So let's say you run a Necruff into a Sorlet, both have 5 attack. Your Necruff is misenchanted, let's say, for ease of use here. So they're just the important part that they're both 5 attack. So your Necruff's misenchanted with a 1 at 1 with, let's say, I don't know, Leviathan or something. And you're attacking a Sorlet that is enchanted with 2 spirits. When they crash on your turn, if you attack, your Necruff will cause you to take 1 damage from the trade because your opponent's Sorlet had 2 spirits enchanted to it. So that's a little bit of a risk reward. Maybe you pump something up just to get it barely to match, and you swing at something. If they both trade and end up dying, you will lose a spirit. If you go to 6 and you attack something with 5, you're always going to win that trade. And if you attack for whatever reason, your less attack thing into the higher attack thing, you'll lose equal to the difference anyway as well. So I think that kind of makes sense. It does feel a little bit bad if you have to do that trade, but it's better trading, taking the extra spirit expending and not letting them get to, like a 2 or 3 drop. The next thing is if you have 0 attack, you will not do any direct damage to your opponent, no matter how many spirits you have on Celestial. So if you, again, let's say you have that Necruff, and it gets equipped with the Spinymph or something, so it has 0 attack, and you try to attack directly, you'll do no damage to your opponent's spirit deck. And you can technically attack with a 0 attack, but you won't, again, do no damage directly. If you try to attack with your 0 attack into something that they have that's like 1 attack or higher, you'll lose your Elestral. So it kind of makes sense that you won't be doing damage for 0 attack, but it's a little weird because you can still attack at 0. It just won't do anything if you try to attack directly with it. Little bit weird with the you can still attack, but it doesn't do anything. Maybe you get a trigger out of it in a future card. It'd be interesting. Next thing, if you have a misenchanted card, it is still considered enchanted for the likes of, let's say, Hammer of Hephaestus. If you have a Hephaestus enchanted with Hammer of Hephaestus, say that 5 times fast, and your Hephaestus has, let's say, a Thunder Spirit on it, because you're out of fire and you play your Hammer of Hephaestus and you want the second effect from it, it still counts. So if your Hammer of Hephaestus says, cannot be the target of celestial effects as long as Hephaestus enchanted, and your Hephaestus has only a Zaptor on it, it counts for the hammer's thing as enchanted, so your hammer will still get that ability. If you're, let's say, Foley Forest, or one of your stadium cards is enchanted with the wrong spirit, which has come up a couple times. Let's say you have Centaur out and you have a Foley Forest with Zaptor on it. Well, that counts for Centaur's ability for Foley Forest being enchanted. You just don't get the benefit from Foley Forest, but Centaur's ability will still activate and won't be able to get targeted by runes or invoke runes. I forget exactly the wording there. But yeah, still counts as enchanted, even if it's a misenchanted. Speaking of enchanting abilities, Glauby's enchant ability isn't giving you an extra normal enchant action for the turn, isn't giving you an extra ascension action for turn. It's just allowing you to get a spirit from your spirit deck and enchant it onto something and draw a card. It's kind of like a slow ramp ability. It's not letting you, play 2 Elestrals in a turn without a special enchant or special ascend. It's not doing any of that. It's just saying, hey, you already have stuff on the board. You can move stuff from your spirit deck and go toss it on some of that stuff and draw a card for it. It's good for getting a little bit of ramp. It's good for going like wide ramp. So maybe you have your Glauby in play. Maybe you have like a Foamy in play as well. Get another thing of that Foamy. So now you can maybe push it to 3 on that turn or something. Or you have, let's say, you special a Tadpuff into play, throw a Water Spirit on it with Glauby's ability, draw an extra card, and then enchant Majesty to it because now it's got 3. Stuff like that. But Glauby doesn't give you a normal enchantment back. It just allows you to enchant something additionally for the turn. The next thing is, I have Spinymph. Will always mean its empowered Elestral has 0 attack. If a Spinymph is empowering your Elestral, and you do a bunch of power and defense changes, or attack defense changes, mixing up my card games here, do a bunch of changes with their attack and defense, etc., and they still have a Spinymph, come the attack, it will have 0 attack. If you have a Mistation and you swap its attack to 6, it'll have 0 attack after Spinymph's empowerment is affected. That also being said, if you have an artifact, let's say Scythe of Demeter, that gives +2 and 3 to, again, let's say Mistation, so Mistation would be a 3/9. If you use Mistation's ability to swap, he will then become a 6/1 with +2/+3, so it would become an 8/4, sorry, not a 9/3. So you can kind of think of like the empowerment from artifacts come after all other changes to attack and defense. As right now, that could change a little bit in the future. We're still getting the comprehensive guides, but as of right now, those empowered artifact and ability and power attack enhancements are kind of like the last thing you calculate when looking at your attack and defense. The next thing is Drataya or like Astrabbit. Those effects are when, thus they mean whenever you trigger their ability. So Drataya specifically is when you enchant the card Ambrosia, you can draw 2 cards and use Ambrosia's effect. So it's kind of like you're getting a Nog out of your Ambrosia as well. It's a very good ability. That ability, if you happen to play 3 Ambrosias in a turn, will trigger all 3 times. The caveat, so most celestial abilities trigger once a turn, but when it's a when effect, such as when Drataya, or when you enchant Ambrosia, or something like Astrabbit, which is when it receives Thunder, those are triggered abilities that happen any amount of times in the turn that you can trigger them. Thus, if you can give Astrabbit Thunder 7 times in a turn, you can use the ability 7 times. Caveat with something like Drataya or Pegas with receiving effects is if you put 2 of an element on an Astrabbit, so it's 2 Thunder and Astrabbit at the same time, that still counts as receiving it once. It's one instance. So if you circle the sky 2 Thunders to an Astrabbit, even though it's getting 2 additional Thunders, its ability is triggering once because it's receiving the 2 at the same time. That counts as one receiving action, if that makes sense. So although you can trigger multiple times, multiple instances, multiple enchants or nexuses in the same action don't work for Astrabbit to trigger. So there's no way to trigger Astrabbit with one action multiple times as of right now. When you're looking at Elestrals that have, search for 1 Spirit Wind Elestral, that is referring to an Elestral that is 1 cost, and that 1 cost happens to be Wind. If it said something like search for a 2 Spirit Wind Elestral, you could search then for something that's a 2 cost Wind Elestral. Now, we don't have any cards that search up a 2 at the moment, so I don't know if something like a hybrid, Wind Earth Spinynsect would count for a 2 cost Wind Elestral. I think it should. I feel it would. Not trying to rhyme here. But as of right now, if you're looking for a 1 Spirit Wind, 1 Spirit Fire, etc., 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 that means that you're looking for something that costs a total of 1 and is that element. I think that's fairly straightforward. Not too complicated, but it has come up a couple of times in the questions. And the last thing I have for today is if you have you have a 40 card deck, it has to be 40 cards. It cannot be more than 40 cards. Your Spirit deck has to be 20 cards. It cannot be more than 20 cards or less than 20 cards. Most of the time, you wouldn't want it to be less than 20 anyway. And then your side deck does not need to be 12 cards. Your side deck could be less than 12. And to clarify, your side deck is if you're playing a best of 3 or more than best of 1 match. Your side deck is a deck that you can swap cards out with to try and make your matchup easier for you with your deck. So you can, throw in cards that would normally be used in your deck to try to counter your opponent. So your side deck doesn't need to be all 12 cards. It's usually useful to have 12 cards. In worst case scenario, you just throw a bunch of junk in there just to look like you have something more in there, or maybe you have a really fringe card that you might want to play in there. That deck doesn't need 12 cards. But yeah, that's it for this FAQ. I hope you guys either learned something or got clarified on something. If you have other questions, ask them in the Discord or down below. I'm always around the Discord, reading stuff, I'm playing games, etc. I've been a little busy the past 2 weeks, but I'm going to be getting back in the content, back into play some more ELESTRALS. So feel free to hit me up with any questions, or if you want to play a game, let me know. Other than that, you guys have a great one. Like, subscribe. I appreciate all you guys. I'm well over 100 by now. Well, I know I'm over 100 by now. It's been like a couple weeks, but it keeps climbing. I appreciate all your support. So please like, subscribe, keep on that train. Appreciate you guys, and have a great night or day, depending on when you see it. Peace.